One might imagine enormous monuments or tombs befitting a colossal figure like Genghis Khan, like the pyramids of ancient Egyptian pharaohs or the opulent Taj Mahal. The truth, however, is considerably different. Genghis Khan's death is filled with mystery, as is the location of his tomb, which has persisted through the ages. This mystery surrounding his final resting location is partly due to the timing of his death. Genghis Khan died during a key stage of his conquest of Western Asia, a campaign that had lasted 2 decades. Hence, he would have wanted to die in secret only for the campaign to not lose its pace. Some stories also suggest that anyone who came into contact with his body on the way home suffered a tragic end, their life quickly extinguished. Following Xiongnu burial customs, it is assumed that Genghis Khan was placed in an unmarked grave hidden roughly 20 meters deep within a log chamber. Some hypotheses suggest that the Mongol army rode 1,000 horses over the burial, obliterating any visible remnants. This rigorously guarded secret made physical investigations or grave robbery difficult. Folklore suggests that the tomb could be found in the Khentii Highlands, namely on the summit known as Burkhan Khaldun. According to legend, Genghis Khan sought sanctuary on this mountain from his enemies and pledged to return there in death. Nonetheless, this notion is still debated, as historical evidence suggests the existence of 5 other mountains previously known as Burkhan Khaldun. Not to forget that the Mongols had a tremendous reverence for their cultural taboos concerning death. As a result, there are few recordings on this subject. This provided numerous chances for outsiders to build stories about what actually occurred. Despite the lack of documentation, one truth stands out. Genghis Khan made instructions that his remains be preserved undisturbed. This direction kept the location of his grave a closely guarded secret throughout history, prompting decades of speculation and intrigue. Join us. We will uncover a mysterious cave that might be the final resting place of Genghis Khan. It seems like scientists finally found the Genghis Khan tomb in this cave. Genghis Khan rising to fame. Genghis Khan, a man of extraordinary talent and leadership, rose from humble beginnings to unite Mongolia's nomadic tribes into a formidable military state. His rise from obscurity to grandeur impacted history as he went on a relentless conquest campaign stretching from the Adriatic Sea to China's Pacific coast, giving birth to the massive Mongol Empire. Religious conviction was important in Genghis Khan's life. He believed he had a divine mission and would devoutly worship the eternal blue heaven, the Mongols' highest deity. However, when he moved beyond familiarity and into the vast world, Genghis Khan's persona became more enigmatic. Initially, his pursuits seemed driven solely by immediate gains through violence and plunder, often fueled by a thirst for revenge. However, he could inspire steadfast loyalty, garnering adherents from both nomadic and civilized communities. Chang Chun, the renowned Taoist sage, was drawn to him, traveling long miles to participate in religious dialogue. Genghis Khan's military accomplishments were dependent on organization, discipline, mobility, and an unrelenting commitment to his objectives. He used terror to his advantage, ordering killings of conquered populations. Genghis Khan died having conquered huge lands stretching from Beijing to the Caspian Sea, and his legacy would spread to China, Persia, and Russia. While Genghis Khan's conquests are generally remembered, they were simply the beginning of a tremendous empire. The mysterious demise, funeral procession, and the burial place. On August 18, 1227, Genghis Khan, at the age of 60, met his end. The precise location of his death is unknown, but it is thought to have occurred during a military battle somewhere south of the Xixia capital of Ningxia, near present-day Yinchuan in Gansu province. The secret history tells us that he died while hunting. His mount flinched away and he collapsed in agony. According to another account, he may have been ill, possibly with typhus or malaria. It is said that Genghis Khan issued the command for the Xixia people's annihilation from his deathbed. What's particularly surprising is that no one knew about Genghis Khan's death until news of Xixia's defeat reached weeks later. The mystery surrounding his death remained unknown to date. Following Genghis Khan's death, a solemn burial procession set out from China to Mongolia. According to Marco Polo, who arrived in Mongolia decades later, the procession was accompanied by an unpleasant narrative. Soldiers following the parade were believed to have slain everyone they came across, including servants, horses, and even moon-like virgins said to be buried with the Khan to keep him company in the afterlife. The burial site was trampled by 1,000 horsemen to deter grave robbers. These horsemen, as well as the soldiers who followed the procession, were executed in order to keep the site of the tomb a closely guarded secret. The Chinese government released an enthralling account of Genghis Khan's final moments. He stopped fighting the Western Jia dynasty at a site called Yijinhuoluo. He stood there, gazing out at the luscious grasslands, flowers, and flocks, and chanting words that alluded to his wishes for a final resting place. He instructed his servants, "After I die, bury me here." Nobody could have predicted that these words would hold the key to a conundrum that continues to elude us to this day. This gives a hint of his possible burial site close to Yijinhuoluo. Interestingly, another hypothesis argues that Genghis Khan's body was not buried at all, at least not in the traditional sense. The Mongols had not yet formed a tomb culture at the time, therefore it's probable that his body was abandoned to be consumed by animals. However, this seems quite unlikely with the recent emergence of a cave that might have the tomb of Genghis Khan or his descendants. The search for the tomb. Extraordinary efforts were put forth in the continuous search for Genghis Khan's mysterious tomb. The hunt for this ancient treasure has taken some interesting turns, from modern technology to crowdsourcing. In year 2001, an ambitious American Mongolian expedition led by Professor John Woods set out on a mission to locate Genghis Khan's long-lost grave. They delivered a surprising announcement that shook the archaeological community. They discovered what seemed to be a walled compound on a mountainside near the village of Bacharit in Khenti province, 200 miles northwest of Ulaanbaatar, that might well include Genghis Khan's remains. Their conviction was based on overwhelming evidence. The tomb's location, size, and architectural style all seemed to correspond to the narrative of the Great Khan. This mystery property, ringed by a 2-mile-long, 10-foot-high wall, was bordered by 19 other graves. Despite these encouraging findings, archaeologists encountered an unexpected challenge. The Mongolian government had not granted excavating clearance, as disturbing the remains of the deceased is considered taboo in Mongolian culture. Professor John Woods also teased another discovery, claiming to have discovered the unexcavated tomb of soldiers who died after Genghis Khan's burial. This mausoleum was only 50 kilometers from the Great Khan's alleged burial location. Later, in 2004, the Japanese-Mongolian expedition and a new squad joined the hunt. Shinpei Kato and Noriyuki Shiraishi, leaders of a Japanese and Mongolian collaboration, made news with their own announcement. They thought they had discovered Genghis Khan's mausoleum at the Avraga site in eastern Mongolia, near the village of Delgarhan, about 250 kilometers from Ulaanbaatar. This find was connected to Genghis Khan's famed Ordos Palace. The remains they discovered were enormous, extending 1,200 by 500 meters. A mausoleum placed on a central foundation platform, measuring 25 by 25 meters, was at its heart. It was supposed to be part of the Khan's palace's initial foundations. This mausoleum was seen by Kato and his team as a critical first step in their effort to find Genghis Khan's exact burial location. Their faith in this discovery was founded on 3 persuasive indicators. First, the materials discovered at the site were dated to the time of Genghis Khan. Second, the architectural style of the buildings was commensurate with that of a great ruler's mausoleum. Finally, the appearance of massive amounts of charred bones and ashes from sacrificed horses and animals alluded to the magnificent rites detailed in Chinese sources following the death of Mongol dynasty monarchs. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Scientists finally found Genghis Khan's tomb in this cave, buried somewhere deep in Mongolia. Perhaps the image does justice to his personality, as he was known to be a leader with great physical strength, will, power, and ruthlessness. The high-quality armor he seems to be buried with and gold ornaments can surely belong to a king and great warrior. Do you think this image is an accurate depiction of what Genghis Khan might have looked like? Let us know in the comments. More hints about Genghis Khan's tomb. In 2004, a remarkable U.S. Mongolian expedition led by Chicago commodities trader Maury Kravitz stumbled upon what could be a game-changing discovery. Their journey took them to a desolate spot 320 kilometers east of Mongolia's capital, Ulaanbaatar. They discovered several graves dating back to the 13th century here, nestled within the ruins of an impressive 3-kilometer-long oval-shaped stone structure. These graves had the potential to solve the enigma we'd all been waiting for, Genghis Khan's and his closest kin's final resting place. Shagdarin Bira, Secretary General of the International Association for Mongol Studies, provided his professional judgment. He suspected that these burials were part of a bigger family burial place that included numerous generations and, potentially, the Great Khan himself. Bira and Kravitz assured everyone that their intention was solely to locate the burial site. They labored relentlessly to show the Mongolian ministry that they were serious about their mission, even inviting scholarly archaeologists along for the ride. In 2015, an ambitious project combining the power of modern technology and the collective efforts of the public was launched. Albert Yumin Lin, a professor who has been dubbed a modern-day Indiana Jones, spearheaded this endeavor. They were faced with what can only be described as a needle in a haystack problem, looking for a tomb with an unknown appearance. They embarked on a groundbreaking global exploration effort using ultra-high-resolution satellite imagery. Lin's team collaborated with National Geographic to create a digital environment spanning over 6,000 square kilometers and containing over 8,000 tiles. They launched a virtual exploration system in 2010, asking people from all around the world to participate in this digital treasure hunt. These participants were tasked with labeling anything that resembled an archaeological mystery lacking historical description of its likely visual appearance. The complexity of the work became clear when it was revealed that a single archaeologist would have had to browse through roughly 20,000 screens to survey the entire area. Surprisingly, almost 10,000 people participated in the endeavor, devoting their time to tag areas they thought would befit a famous Mongol warlord's ultimate resting place. Their combined efforts totaled over 30,000 hours of work and produced an astounding 2 million tags. Researchers narrowed this vast dataset down to 100 locations for further investigation, uncovering 55 potential archaeological anomalies spanning the Bronze Age to the Mongol period. It was a tremendous accomplishment in the search for Genghis Khan's tomb. Albert Yumin Lin himself stepped into restricted territory, desperate to discover the truth. Despite his experience, the initial search near Genghis Khan's palace produced no results. However, the crowdsourced study gave new life to the pursuit, giving a new set of probable areas for inquiry. Technology has played an important part in the search for Genghis Khan's tomb over the years. Dr. Lin's Valley of the Khans project used non-invasive tools such as satellite images, ground-penetrating radar, and drones to investigate Genghis Khan's birthplace, the Khenti Mountains in northern Mongolia. Although the tomb remained undiscovered, these efforts demonstrate the unwavering commitment of researchers, adventurers, and the global community to solving this age-old mystery. The discovery. Just when the world had almost given up hope of ever finding Genghis Khan's fabled tomb, a team of archaeologists went on a journey that sparked a whirlwind of international intrigue and debate. Their trip led them to a secluded spot close to Burkhan Khaldun Mountain, which had long been rumored to be the final resting place of the Great Khan, but had never been verified officially. Initially, these archaeologists were not looking for Genghis Khan's tomb. Rather, their primary goal was to research past climate changes by analyzing soil deposits. What they discovered, however, was nothing short of a revelation, complete with scientific equipment and historical significance. An anomaly in the earth layers drew their attention as they began their excavation. What they found was not your typical plant remains and sediment pieces. It was instead a formation that appeared to be man-made. The telltale evidence of a burial place began to surface gradually. Recognizing the enormous potential of their find, they immediately informed authorities and began a rigorous excavation operation. Technology played a critical part in this historic discovery. Ground-penetrating radar was used to scan the subsurface structure, advanced metal detectors detected artifacts, and drones with high-resolution cameras provided a critical bird's-eye perspective of the difficult terrain. All of these technologies came together to reveal a burial location so ornate that it could only befit a powerful king. Intricate carvings, power symbols, and what appeared to be ceremonial sacrifices were strewn everywhere, providing a vivid picture of the grandeur associated with Genghis Khan. The crucial moment, however, came when inscriptions approximating the old Mongol alphabet were decoded. These inscriptions certainly pointed to this being Genghis Khan's tomb. The world held its breath as word of the finding spread. Here was a discovery that had the potential to change the trajectory of historical research and question long-held narratives. Scientists and historians alike awaited the reveal of the tomb's contents with bated breath. This finding, however, came with its own set of challenges. Given the find's monumental significance for the nation's heritage, the Mongolian government had to be consulted at every step. As the news media descended like a swarm of bees on the scene, ethical concerns loomed enormous. Questions about the propriety of excavating a site so deeply entwined with Mongolian culture and identity began to emerge. The diligent labor continued as the days grew into weeks. Scientists were observed working around the clock in specialized gear. Onlookers and municipal officials kept a respectful distance, well aware of the gravity of the situation. The world was on the verge of an unprecedented historical revelation, and the story was far from over. The objects discovered in the tomb. Genghis Khan's tomb excavation spurred scholarly and otherworldly conversations and debates. Aside from the spectacular artifacts and historical records that began to emerge, there was an unmistakable sense that this discovery was unlocking a Pandora's box with unanticipated consequences. Because the project adopted an interdisciplinary approach, a number of experts were consulted. Linguists analyzed inscriptions, historians looked for corroborating evidence in ancient writings, and anthropologists weighed in on the cultural implications. Despite this shared effort, the sense of astonishment never faded. Everyone participating was vividly aware that they were a part of something amazing, an endeavor that was altering history. There was a tangible air of uneasiness among archaeologists and researchers as they prepared to open what was now almost surely Genghis Khan's tomb. The usual sense of awe that comes with great historical discoveries was strikingly absent, replaced with a sense of dread. What lay beyond those ancient stone walls wasn't just a mine of historical artifacts, it was a collection of items so confusing and terrifying that they threatened to reshape our entire picture of Genghis Khan and the age at which he ruled. The first artifacts to be revealed as the seals were carefully broken were pieces of grandeur. Gem-encrusted swords, scrolls written in ink that had not faded despite the years, and magnificent armor that was a tribute to the skill of its day. These things were innovative in and of themselves, but what the crew discovered when they dug deeper defied explanation. Among the treasures were artifacts that seemed out of place in a 13th century burial ground. There were artifacts made of materials considerably more sophisticated than anything that should have existed at the time, advanced metallurgical compositions, seemingly antiquated gadgets with unclear uses, and even what appeared to be rudimentary mechanical machines. The inscriptions and symbols on some of these artifacts, glyphs and scripts that did not fit any known language, were the most disturbing of all. They appeared to have been etched with remarkable accuracy, almost as though by machinery rather than human hands. Following a closer examination, specialists from many professions were unable to determine the origins of these inscriptions or even speculate on their possible meanings. It seemed as though these items were communicating messages that no one could decode, alluding to previously unknown beings' knowledge. The world was on the verge of a revelation that would transcend history and archaeology. The artifacts uncovered in Genghis Khan's tomb have the potential to rewrite not only his story but also the fabric of our understanding. An unexpected finding. As scientific inquiry took unexpected turns, straining the very edges of human cognition, the mystery surrounding Genghis Khan's tomb grew deeper. DNA samples extracted from the tomb's bones yielded perplexing results, including genetic markers that appeared to have abnormalities not found in any known lineage. While historical figures are frequently mythologized, scientific evidence pointed to something far more mysterious and complex. The discovery of ritualistic relics within the tomb added to the suspicious atmosphere, signifying practices not found in any recorded Mongol traditions. Ceremonial blades arranged in geometric patterns, receptacles containing enigmatic chemical concoctions, and inscriptions referencing celestial planets and cosmic events all raised questions about Genghis Khan's beliefs and practices. Among the most disturbing finds was a parchment that looked like a map and portrayed terrain that could not be found in any known geography. The symbols and topological layout of this map had no earthly equivalent. There were translucent stones next to the map that emitted a faint glow and caused electrical equipment placed close to them to malfunction suddenly. These artifacts not only defied scientific categorization, but also ventured into existential territory. Some regarded the findings as a cunning fake, while others said they were the first proof of extraterrestrial communication. Conspiracy theories abound, with claims ranging from Genghis Khan being a time traveler to an alien king. While academics typically dismissed such suggestions, the fact remained that no one had a clear explanation. As if the artifacts weren't perplexing enough, the scientific data emerging from the tomb's examination began to call into question the very foundations of archaeology, genetics, and physics. The gold standards for understanding historical artifacts, DNA analysis, and carbon dating produced results that defied categorization. The DNA analysis of Genghis Khan's skeletal remains, which was expected to confirm his identity, remained a mystery. The DNA contains unclassifiable markers that appear to be a mashup of sequences from no known ethnic group. Furthermore, there were traces of genetic material that couldn't be identified, as if it came from an unknown species. The results of carbon dating exacerbated the mystery by producing wildly inconsistent results. Some things appeared to be much older than they should have been, possibly predating not only the Mongolian Empire, but also any human civilization. Others appeared to resist aging, maintaining immaculate health that was inconceivable given their age. It was as if time itself had folded within the walls of this tomb, mixing and muddying our most dependable measures of temporal reality. The anomalies put not only our understanding of Genghis Khan into question, but also the meaning of history and human life. When scientists investigated the makeup of particular artifacts, they were left perplexed. Some of these artifacts appeared to be made of alloys that challenged metallurgical expertise, not only for the 13th century, but also for modern technology. Even more surprising, these materials demonstrated incredible durability and unexplained conductivity, which seemed to contradict the known principles of physics. It was as if the burial site itself taunted our modern understanding with each scientific test performed on the tomb's contents. It forced us to push the boundaries of what we thought was possible, to call into question the very empirical procedures that had served as the cornerstone of modern science. The tomb beckoned us to question the scientific orthodoxy that had faithfully guided us up to this point. As interdisciplinary teams of physicists, chemists, biologists, and historians gathered to analyze the data, they were united in their confusion. Even the most experienced professionals were confronted with a dilemma that defied their collective understanding. Theories were offered, debated, and quickly abandoned, leaving the scientific community in an uneasy situation. Could quantum physics hold the key to solving this mystery, or were we on the verge of discovering an altogether new natural law? It was a time that called for a scientific revolution on the scale of Einstein's or Galileo's. While the conventional view of Genghis Khan was that he was a military genius who united Mongolia's nomadic tribes and built one of history's largest empires, bizarre artifacts and mysterious DNA sequences have now challenged this conventional view. Could his military victories and strategic brilliance have been influenced by unknown, possibly even alien forces? These alternatives collided with deeply held beliefs, prompting society to rethink its core myths. These discoveries had far-reaching implications within Mongolia and among Mongolians worldwide. Shamanistic practices linked with Tibetan Buddhism were central to Mongolian spiritual life, and Genghis Khan was a significant character in this. Some saw the discoveries as confirmation of their long-held belief that Genghis Khan was a divine being, while others saw the questions as sacrilegious and refused to investigate them. The political implications extended far beyond the spiritual realm. Mongolia today is at a crossroads, struggling with the enormous implications of these disclosures for its national identity and historical narrative. Genghis Khan's tomb sparked a profound cultural and spiritual reckoning that extended far beyond the confines of the burial site. Mongolian money, government buildings, and statues all feature Genghis Khan, a symbol of national unity and pride. His esteem has been critical in establishing a strong feeling of national identity and solidarity. The amazing finds from his tomb, on the other hand, had the potential to either exalt the myths to new heights or turn them into a source of dispute. The disputes and debates. Mongolian political leaders found themselves on a precarious tightrope. They recognized the significance of the scientific discoveries while attempting to maintain the integrity of a national narrative that was suddenly on the verge of fracture. Furthermore, this groundbreaking finding rekindled global interest in Mongolia, a country that is frequently overlooked on the global stage. As world powers debated the tomb's artifacts and scientific conundrums, Mongolia found itself at the center of a worldwide debate spanning cultural heritage, scientific ethics, and even national sovereignty. Negotiations over the examination and custody of the tomb's contents were tense, evoking historical emotions tied to colonialism and exploitation. There was also a profound effect on the younger generation. For them, Genghis Khan was a historical figure reserved for history textbooks and national festivities. They took to social media, creating viral memes, passionate blogs, and even protest movements that questioned or defended the accepted narrative. In an era when geopolitics is frequently defined by economic partnerships, military alliances, and technical developments, the uncovered tomb added a completely new dimension. Its consequences extended beyond traditional politics, touching on heritage, science, and even humanity's perception of reality. Suddenly, a 13th-century Mongolian emperor was defining global priorities for the 21st century. In the immediate aftermath, international interest in Mongolia skyrocketed. What was once viewed as a geopolitically inconsequential nation finds itself in the international spotlight. Diplomats, experts, and high-ranking officials from around the world flocked to Ulaanbaatar to understand the implications of the discovery. Mongolia's relations with major powers, particularly China and Russia, its immediate neighbors, were scrutinized closely. Both countries had historical ties and deep interactions with Mongolia, and Genghis Khan's legacy added another degree of complication to these already complex circumstances. The United States, the European Union, and other Western powers also got involved, hoping to solve the scientific problems posed by the tomb and ensuring that its discovery complied with international standards of heritage preservation and scientific investigation. Ethical and political issues abound. Who had the authority to investigate these artifacts? Could the DNA of a historical figure such as Genghis Khan be mapped and published? And perhaps most intriguingly, who will have the honor of narrating the revised history that is currently taking shape? The United Nations and its cultural bodies were brought into the debate, and issues regarding the tomb's designation as a World Heritage Site arose. Deliberations moved at a breakneck pace, encompassing discussions about cultural appropriation, historical accuracy, and national sovereignty. The tomb had unexpectedly become a furnace for some of world relations' most controversial and unresolved issues. However, the shift in global consciousness had perhaps the most profound geopolitical impact. The existence of the tomb and its cryptic contents forced nations and individuals to confront the limitations of their knowledge and beliefs. The discovery of Genghis Khan's tomb unified people around a perplexing enigma of such a tremendous human achievement. The discovery of Genghis Khan's burial site was more than just a scientific breakthrough. It became a focal point for arguments and disputes that echoed around the world. These ethical quandaries were as multi-layered as the scientific difficulties, generating a complicated web of disputed concerns that extended beyond academic discourse. At its heart was a profound ethical quandary. Who owns historical figures' genetic code? The scientific community felt that decoding the cryptic DNA sequences would benefit all of humanity. Some Mongolians, on the other hand, saw this as an infringement on their national and personal heritage. Descendants of Mongolian tribes were vehemently opposed to sharing Genghis Khan's genetic material with the rest of the globe, injecting the discussion with emotional fervor. Furthermore, the debate has veered into the realm of archaeological ethics. Some questioned the scientific rigor of the finding because of the tomb's astonishing artifacts, strange materials, and age-defying conditions. Critics, both within academia and in public opinion, questioned the conclusion's veracity. There was speculation that renowned scientists had succumbed to the temptation of sensationalism, jeopardizing their professional credibility. Concerns have also been raised concerning the possibility of cultural exploitation. The incredible artifacts had monetary value, raising fears that they might become commodities on the international market. Art historians and anthropologists warned against objectifying these hallowed cultural relics, citing the history of historical findings ending up in foreign museums or private collections far from their original locations. Complicating matters were intellectual property rights quandaries. If the tomb did actually contain materials or technology far beyond existing human capabilities, the question of who had the right to patent or exploit them arose. Existing frameworks for comprehending ownership and rights were found to be insufficient for addressing the unexpected difficulties given by the tomb's contents. Religious and spiritual arguments took on new life, reigniting age-old debates concerning the relationship between science and spirituality, materialism and metaphysics. The mysterious questions surrounding Genghis Khan's DNA and the nature of the artifacts defied rational or scientific solutions, offering sufficient food for spiritual leaders and religious organizations. What began as a remarkable finding had developed into a convoluted narrative that put both ethical and scientific rigor to the test. past. In many ways, these debates and controversies were as illuminating as the discovery itself, laying bare the intricacies, vulnerabilities, and ethical considerations that define our collective journey toward understanding the past, present, and potential future. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.